Mom said that too, but that's okay. Also, so I will talk to you about quarter after 11, right? That's sorry. Because Tom said he would give me a handout because I said I have to have my phone so I know what time it is. And he said he would give me the handout. So I'll just tell him at like quarter after 11 because he said about half an hour, and I said I thought it was 40 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to take a moment. I'm going to take a moment to ask the folks that are going to be introduced today to come and join me on the stage. Nice, comfortable seating up here, and Linda Davenport, if you could join them. It's actually pretty good seating up here. Nice view, eh? Good morning, everyone. It may not feel like it. It may not feel like it, but spring is finally here. And just like the season, it's a wonderful time for fresh starts, growth, and new connections. Welcome to our April PROBUS meeting, and a special welcome to our YouTube viewers. Thanks for stopping by. We all appreciate being greeted at the door as we enter. Thanks, Aline and Ruth, for fulfilling this role. It's always so nice to see a smiling face when we come in. Anne Boudra has an announcement for us, and David Churchill has a microphone for you there.
Thank you, Jim. I was told to put the microphone under my chin. I said to David, which one? He didn't think I was funny. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see you all here on this beautiful, sunny, warm spring day. I'm just part of the recruiting company with Jim and Linda. Linda is our vice president, and I'm just going to update you in just a couple of minutes. First of all, I'm going to tell you about the gathering, which is a great get-together, and it's hosted by Catherine Collins. Catherine joined in September 2016, and she helped Shirley Ann Holmes, who started the gathering and was her assistant until Shirley Ann died during COVID. So Catherine Collins very kindly stood up and said, yes, I'll host or take care or organize the gathering. So she has. And now she is going to retire in June. And I'd like Catherine to stand up so we can all thank her for the great job she did. Catherine, where are you? There you go. Catherine, you made everybody feel comfortable and welcome, and it turned out to be a great group. I joined a couple of years ago, and it's been really, really lovely because it's not too big, and it gives you a chance to meet people and just chat, you know. So thank you again, Catherine. Now, to take her place, we have a very special lady by the name of Anne Bradley. Anne joined also in 2015, and she did a great job. What happened was she wanted to join, but she was on the waiting list. But instead of waiting to be a member, she took care of the walking group. She was the convener before she became a member. So that's the type of girl she is. She also, in 2016 and 17, was the vice president of the program committee. 17 and 18, she was vice president of activities committee. She became president in 2018, and past president in 2019, committee co-chair in 2020. At 21, 25, she's hiking group convener, and now she's going to take care of the gathering committee. Can you believe it? Not only that, but she takes pictures of the different people in their different activities, and she takes pictures of the new people. Yes, Jim. Jim, don't boss me, okay? Of course, he broke my train of thought, but that's all right. And also takes pictures of new members to be put on file, and we wish Anne all the best. I know she's going to do a great job. So, Anne, would you mind standing up wherever you are? Good. Thank you, Anne. Yes.
I just wanted to put a little plug in. Volunteering is the best way to meet people in this club, so I encourage you all to step up. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Just step up, and it's fun, and the work is not onerous.
Well said. I agree. Thanks to being on the committee, I've made some new friends, which I needed badly. And so it was worthwhile, and I recommend it to everybody. So, Jim, this is back to you. Oh, okay, dear. Thank you. Yeah.
I've been told. Once again, our meeting will consist of regular business items, introduction of new members, and a guest speaker. Just to avoid embarrassment, I'm going to turn off my iPhone, and I'm going to ask you folk to do the same, please. Mark your calendar for June 19. It's the PROBUS Spring Luncheon at the Guelph Country Club. Jan Epperson told me earlier that they accept cash or checks at the table at the back. Give us a wave, Jan. And she'll be sitting there after the meeting, and she'll be at next month's meeting selling these tickets. The daily news is perturbing, and we all need a little light humor. So here's an interesting tidbit of information from my 8-year-old granddaughter. Did you know that muffins, spelled backward, is what you do when you take them out of the oven? Think on that. Has anyone brought a guest today? I don't see anyone raising their hands. But I know that I have guests, Bruce and Shirley Watson. Where are you? I know there they are at the back. And they told me that they've handed in their application and their money. This is good news. So, any other guests? Have I missed anyone? What, Jerry? No, you're on the way. Okay. So, of course, welcome Shirley and Bruce. And today we have several new members who are about to be introduced, so let's get started. Vice President Linda Davenport will introduce them.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I have the pleasure today of introducing now 8, and this number, the chairs are full, so if you're new and we haven't met you yet, we will get to you, but we're full house today. And we've got some wonderful stories to share with our new people. So I'm going to get started, and there is a little bit of order. Some of these people have been waiting a while to be formally introduced and embraced by the gang. So the first one is Linda Marie Elizabeth Mabel Cunnington, and she's actually probably well known to some people because apparently she's been here for over 4 years and never formally been introduced. So listen up, and I'm going to ask Linda to come up. Where are you, Linda? Right here. Okay. And Jim's going to stand with us, so we look like a trio here. So here's Linda's story. I blame my dyslexic father, who spelled both my grandmother's, including his own mother's name, wrong, and my name. It was supposed to be hyphenated, Linda-Marie. Oh well. I was born in Toronto, Ontario, grew up, married, and had 4 children in Guelph. My greatest accomplishment is my 4 children. Alyssa, my oldest, has a master's degree in fine arts and media. Shannon has a BA in psychology, like her mom. Trevor has a PhD in communications, and Mandy is working on her master's degree in psychology. My education was unique. In grade 4, which I failed, my parents were summoned to the school. They were told by my teacher that they should put me in a group home because I was unteachable. Hence, the significance of education in the family, I think. My father was so angry he yelled at the teacher, quote, "You just don't know how to teach her." Hence, my challenges began in learning. I was bullied throughout school years and had amazing teachers who believed in me and helped me achieve my goals in education. I am dyslexic in numbers and letters, ADHD, time blind, and don't know where my body is in space. I learn tactically and auditorily. I can write faster than I can type. In grade 11, which I failed, my teacher took me aside, gave me the heartbreaking news. She told me I probably wouldn't graduate from high school because I could not compute math concepts. Furthermore, I would never be able to go to university. So I thought, you just wait and see. I was a registered practical nurse for 49 years. My other accomplishments include psychiatric diploma in mental health, life skills coach, counseling therapist, specializing in addictions, brain gym consultant, polarity therapist. Wow. Tutors, my late husband, and my children helped me achieve my learning goals in life. I was also on many committees throughout my career. My favorite was being on the board of mental health for a 2-year term for Waterloo Wellington. I learned a lot on this board of directors. We're hearing from them today. I believe in lifelong learning. Who am I? I am unique. Welcome. And I'm just beginning. Wait till you hear everybody else's stories. Okay, next we have Miriam Eiler Page. Miriam sometimes goes by Miriam Eiler Page because she hopes to connect with anyone who knew her growing up in Guelph as Miriam Eiler. She has met some, including a few that are here. She left Guelph after high school to go into nurses training in Toronto, worked for a few years as a nurse, and then went back to school and eventually became a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator. She worked at community health centers in Toronto. With her husband, she raised 3 children near the beautiful Scarborough Bluffs. Her husband passed away, and as she approached retirement age, her first grandson arrived. Her daughter and her decided that it would be mutually beneficial to live close to each other. And Granny Suite was found in Guelph, and they moved here in 2021. She loves Guelph again. Her interests include hiking, exploring new places, singing, British TV and literature, and spending time with family and friends, especially 5 young grandsons. They'll keep you busy. Miriam has actually been a member since October of 2023, I think, so we're way behind. Next is Margot Kendall. Margot was born and raised in St. John's, Newfoundland, and moved to downtown Montreal at the young age of 19. The attraction was Expo 67, and the highlight for her was a champagne and strawberry ball with Pierre Elliott Trudeau. The Prime Minister's date that evening was a French-Canadian actress who had her Siamese cat in tow. No comment. These were certainly interesting times with very interesting people. At 21, she hitchhiked across Europe with a drop-dead gorgeous girlfriend, and they had no difficulty getting rides. Those were the days when that kind of travel was sought after and safe for young people wanting to explore and have adventures. She has a degree in sociology from York University and had a career in human resource, mainly corporate manufacturing and distribution environments. In this area, she was employed by Seba Energy and ComDev in Cambridge. There were several other employers over the years, and as she is a type A, for sure she loved a challenge and moved on once the challenges were met. She's lived in several Canadian cities, St. John's, Montreal, Halifax, Winnipeg, and Toronto, and I was the one who moved from the big town city, Toronto, to country Pushlinch, and lived there for 22 years. Her son is Drew Edwards. Some of you might remember Drew. He was a writer with the Guelph Mercury. I've still got some of his parenting advice stored away. Her son lives here in Guelph, and she's now resided here for 16 years. She's been, is this mediator or meditator? Meditator. That's what I thought. She's been a meditator for 50 years and still attends meditation groups and retreats. She's an avid traveler and theater goer, enjoys classical and folk concerts. She's a member of the PROBUS walking and hiking group, which she's highly recommending. She's also interested in world politics, so no lack of challenges these days. And she does not want us to leave this out, and this is very interesting. She, part of her life that's added to her wonderful and challenging experiences, she has a black belt in marriage. She's done it 3 times. And she now enjoys living with her 2 cats. Welcome. See what I mean? We're all going to go home and sharpen our pencils, rewrite our stories. Next is Anne Sneed. Did I say that? I did. Oh, good. And her husband, John, have lived in Guelph for 10 years, having retired here from Collingwood, Ontario. What drew us here? Family and grandchildren, of course. We have never regretted our decision, having discovered how much we could do in this city and in this region. We have met wonderful friends, we have the best neighbors in the world, and we have many cultural, sporting, and community activities that occupy our daily lives. In my working life, I ran my own music studio where I taught piano, voice, and theory for 45 years. On Sundays, Anne worked as an organist and choir director, and over her career worked for 4 different denominations and substituted for many others. As her hobby, she founded the Sound Investment Community Choir in Collingwood in 1974. That choir has now celebrated in 2024 its 50th anniversary. She also founded and directed 3 different handbell choirs for 3 different groups. I see another group activity coming on. At this point, I should mention that my actual musical training was as an opera singer. When I was married and moved to Marathon, Ontario in 1970, there was a very limited demand for that skill. That's when she pivoted to teaching privately and never looked back. Upon moving to Guelph, she immediately joined the community singers, became the person called upon to direct in the absence of our conductor, or to play the piano in the absence of the accompanist, some retirement. Also, she was the alto section leader, which meant she taught the sectionals as required by the conductor. The following year, she accepted the role of choir director for the Guelph Wellington Seniors Association at the Evergreen Centre. And I'm not done. I continued in that position until 2022. Just prior to the COVID lockdown in 2020, she'd received permission from GWSA to start a ukulele orchestra. The leader I secured was able to continue our instruction online for the next 2 years, and we never gave up, we never gave in, and we were one of the first 2 groups allowed to meet in person when the COVID restrictions lifted. Today, the Silver Strummers, which I assume is the ukulele group, boasts a membership of nearly 80 people, and they're also recruiting. I joined the PROBUS Club because I know a number of the members already, and I really speak, I'm now quoting Anne. I really like the speakers, and there are many enjoyable activities to choose from on a regular basis, but she is wondering if anybody is interested in a choir. She says she's just says she's just kidding, but I think there's an opportunity here.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody need a stretch break or a fitness break, or got a few more to go? Okay, next up, Rosalind Slater. Hang on. Rosalind was born in 1940 in Oldham, England, when the bombs were dropping. Apart from the war, she had a happy childhood centered on the Methodist Church, where the whole family worshipped on Sundays. She attended the local secondary modern school as she failed the 11+ exam. I was 15, she said, when her older sister married, and that was the most memorable day for her because she was a bridesmaid, but met the future love of her life, Keith Slater. In 1949, they married, and he was working on his PhD. What did I say, 49? Oh yeah, that's when I was born. in 1959. So she was 19, not 10. While he was working on his PhD in textile engineering at Leeds University. Their first 2 daughters were born during the 6 years that they lived there. Keith applied for a position at Guelph University against her wishes. He was hired as an assistant professor at the MacDonald Institute, and they moved to Guelph. Emigrating to Canada was a total shock to her system, especially when she realized she was pregnant. We moved here December 28th, 1965. It was a difficult time, and some of you who knew me then will remember me as an insecure, lonely wimp who struggled to fit into this new country. Guelph life. We joined many groups to meet new people, the Harcourt United Church, Guelph Little Theatre. Later, since she hadn't learned to drive in Canada, Keith got involved. We made a pact. He auditioned for a play, and I applied to be a mature student. Keith got cast in Bequest to a Nation, and I passed the university entrance exams. Those were happy years. She wrote her final BA exam the same day that she had her acting debut. She didn't tell us what that play was, but this was followed by an MA a few years later. We both acted in and directed many plays, as well as the 10 Spirit Walks at Woodlawn Cemetery and 2 plays with RCMPI. We've made many friends over the years at GLT, Guelph Little Theatre. Life was wonderful, and they were doing things they loved after raising their family. Then Keith became tired, and they noticed problems with his muscles. When he saw a specialist, they received the news that he had ALS. So that was goodbye to the life as we knew it. After his tracheotomy, I insisted on nursing him myself for 7 years at home, until during a hospital stay his life ended, and I had to say goodbye to a 50-year love story. Woman of Distinction Award in 2017. Friends sponsored her to become a Woman of Distinction at the Y and YWCA Awards. I recently reinvented myself as a flautist with New Horizons Band. At Harcourt, I am now Counselor of Outreach. Her family. In 2024, my daughter Diane became GLT's next president, so the theatre I love has passed on to the next generation. My immediate family now numbers 30 on 2 continents, with daughters, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And more to come. In 2023, Rosalind published her first novel entitled To Have and to Hold, which is for sale on Amazon, and she's currently working on a sequel. She's published many short stories in the Harcourt Herald magazine and hopes to share her talents with PROBUS and looks forward to getting to know all of you. Welcome. I think there could be another group opportunity there, too. Okay, next, Joan McDermott, and I'm going to call Joan and Dawn up together, although they are a pair, you'll realize that. But anyway, we're going to recognize them individually. Oh, came together. Okay, that's fine, too. So Joan, her husband's Don, and they have a consulting business called boardsupport.ca, where they provide placement services for executives onto charity boards. We do this through a company in Kitchener called Capacity Canada. Joan has a Bachelor's of Arts from Laurier and Financial Management Certificate from Algonquin College in Ottawa. She was a teacher, taught public school. She has her primary specialist certificate, music, high school business, and special ed. They have 2 sons who live in Guelph with their wives and 4 grandchildren. In her spare time she spends time with art and music. She plays the piano and ukulele. Are you in the group? Are you in the group? Oh. Okay. With Dawn, who plays fiddle and mandolin, and she enjoys watercolor painting. We have lived around the province, and we are delighted to have settled in Guelph. Their love story continues. Dawn has a pharmacy degree and a Master's of Arts in Management. His career started as Director of Pharmacy at the Ottawa General Hospital and subsequently Hospital Administration in Kitchener and Sarnia. Currently, with his wife, they do consulting with charity boards, as we heard. They both have their life and executive coach certification. They're lucky to have their family close to them in Guelph and enjoy spending time with them, and Don enjoys seeing his grandchildren growing into amazing people. His interests include playing music, woodworking, gardening, and genealogy, and his latest endeavor is a hot sauce recipe with homegrown hot peppers. My son would love that. Okay. Yes. Welcome. Sorry. Okay, next up is Linda McClellan. Second, I think. You were the last one on the stage. Okay, Linda is an enthusiastic person and driven by the joy of staying active, making connections with like-minded people, and the simple pleasures of engaging in nature, whether hiking, cycling, or scenic trails, or playing a lighthearted game of pickleball or kayaking. She enjoys seeking new adventures and experiences. She grew up in Scarborough, anywhere near the Bluffs where others have lived?
Not far.
Yeah, there you go. 6 degrees of separation. Yeah. And she spent her childhood summers in the Maritimes with her grandparents. 8 years ago, she reconnected with her high school sweetheart, Larry, and they transplanted themselves to Prince Edward Island for a few years to immerse themselves in the culture and breathe the sea air. It was an enriching time, and they were very grateful, but Ontario is home, and we were very pleased to be back in what our 6-year-old grandson describes as normal Canada. Apparently, the island was not normal. They are now living in Hespeler. Linda's life is greatly enriched by a blended family. They have 3 daughters and a son who all live in southwestern Ontario, and 3 amazing little grandsons. She dedicated her education and career to human services and centered on making a positive impact on the lives of others. She worked. A flexible schedule in early childhood programs while her daughters were young. Later on, developing a very fulfilling 20-year career in employment services at Agilent, okay, where she was a team leader, facilitator, and employment counselor. She enjoyed engaging with tourists and seasonal employment while on PEI. That sounds interesting too. Yeah. She's greatly enjoying the hiking group through PROBUS and looking forward to engaging with and meeting all the rest of you. Welcome. And not with us today, but I do not want to forget, I'm not sure whether she's watching, but Beverly Norton was supposed to be up on the stage too, but had emergency surgery. And so Beverly, if you are online watching, we look forward to meeting you at a later date, and we do send best wishes. Hope you're recovering well. That's the group, and you'll recognize on their name tags, they all have red buttons. So you'll remember that they're newbies, and I'm sure from these stories that there's a lot more to learn, and all of you, we ask you to learn our stories. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Jim.
No, I don't sound like it. I don't.
It's over there. Oh, that's surreal.
Are you okay? Linda mentioned the red dot. If you see a red dot on anyone's pin, they're new. Please welcome them. And I'm going to invite Marion Wells up onto the stage, and she's going to introduce our guest speaker. You betcha. I think I'll go and sit down so I can listen to this.
Okay, so I am so pleased to be able to introduce Laura McDonald as our speaker today. Laura is the daughter of our illustrious president, Jim Thompson, and his wife, Ruth. I've known Laura since she was a child and have watched her grow up. Laura and her husband, Jay, are the proud parents of 2 children. Laura is a member of the Mental Health Promotion and Education team at CMHA Waterloo, Wellington. Her employment history includes recreation manager at Highland Manor Retirement Lodge, elder life specialist at Groves Memorial Community Hospital, and various client support roles at CMHA Waterloo, Wellington. She worked with seniors during the pandemic, helping them to navigate community services and gain access to psychiatric assessments. She also worked with families and youth who struggle to find support in Guelph and Wellington County. Her desire to connect with the community and spread awareness about mental health led her to the education team. I know you will enjoy her presentation. Welcome, Laura McDonald.
And bear with me because my computer probably has to be logged in again, so just give me a sec. While I do that, I'll just let you know that the new members, the Watsons, Shirley, I said it earlier, was my matchmaker because Jay and I were both in her kindergarten class, so that's pretty awesome. So think about that while I log in. So yeah, thank you, Mrs. Watson. This is stress management right now. I'm just taking a deep breath. Okay, so I was asked today to come talk about self-compassion and also a little bit about what CMHA does in our community. My work, typically a lot of the time I go into classrooms and I talk about mental health and mental wellness to usually grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9. But I do also go into the community and do some community work and also sometimes into the corporate world too. Today I'm talking about self-compassion because that piece is sometimes something that we forget about in our own mental health. And science and research is really showing us that the self-compassion and the kindness to ourselves is so important for all aspects of our health, our physical health, our mental health, and really how we're kind of working our way through the world. So to start with today, I'm going to hopefully click. I'm going to start with, well, that's me. I'm going to start with just what CMHA, Waterloo, Wellington, and the Grove are, because the Grove is a youth wellness hub. You've probably seen it in the news. We're really promoting it's kind of this one-stop shop for youth. Kathy Stevens had said, hey, if you can touch on a little bit about the Grove too, so we know about it. So I'll talk about that. And then I want to just have a quick review of what is mental health, and then we'll dive into self-compassion, why we should practice it, and how do we incorporate self-compassion into our daily lives. So to start with, CMHA Waterloo Wellington has offices in Guelph, the county, and KW area. It's nonprofit. We support about 19,000 individuals every year. And the services run right through the age groups. I have colleagues that do assessments with toddlers. We have support for youth, for families, adults, right on through to seniors. And we also have the Here 24/7 crisis line, and I have some cards at the back. That line is really for someone, if they're in crisis, if they want intake services at CMHA, they can call that number to find out what programs or services are there. They can get referrals into programs. Sometimes people just call it if they're having a rough day and they just need a little bit of coaching or they need some support. So that's that Here 24/7 line. This is a really pretty slide that I got from our marketing team, but it kind of just goes through the numbers of different things, people that we support, calls that we take, programs that we offer at CMHA. The piece that I really like to talk about is that one with the phone in the middle that says 24/7. 1,334 calls were taken, this is 2023-24, for the 988 line. And over 44,000 calls were taken for Here 24/7. For those that don't know what 988 is, that's a new suicide crisis line that is nationwide. It was went live, I think it was a year ago in November, it went live. We were really excited to have that happen because Here 24/7 was taking those calls for Waterloo Wellington. But if I had a friend in London, that wasn't available to them. So if I had a friend in London that called me and said they were really struggling, I could immediately say, let's call 988, or here's the number that you can call. Or if I knew that that person was really struggling in Halifax, that 988 is also available. It also really helped with our Here 24/7 because now we had another line for those people that were really in crisis in that urgent piece. So I do have 988 cards too. If you are having thoughts of suicide or you know someone that's having thoughts of suicide, that 988 number is a really easy number to remember, and it's wonderful for coaching even. If you're thinking, I don't know what to do, I'm not sure what to do for that person, that's a great number to call. But when I look at all these numbers, I think, wow, we've got a lot of services and a lot of people that we're touching in our community. Offices, we've got the new office is right by Dairy Queen. It's the old McDonald's by Riverside Park. That's the office that I work out of, and it's strictly children, so 0 to 18. And then we have a Grove site there. There's an office on Waterloo Ave, that's more adult and senior services. And then we also have our rural, so Fergus, Mount Forest, and then in Waterloo region, we have a Cambridge and a Kitchener office. I'm going to roll into the Grove now. That's our youth wellness hubs. CMHA is connected to the Grove. We share space, we share some services. Youth can go into the Grove and just hang out. They can just plug in their phone, they can get snacks. The Grove that's attached to the building that I'm in, it's quite busy. After school, a lot of kids will walk there. They can get bus passes there. There's rideshare programs. So they can get fed. They can also access services. So they've got staff there that can help them with housing questions, employment questions, tutoring. If they want to get connected with mental health support, they can get a referral to CMHA. They can have some counseling. There's laundry facilities. There's showers there. So it's a wonderful place to go if they need any help with what's going on in their life, what they're concerned about in the future. And they really wanted that model to be that one-stop shop. They only have to tell their story once, and then they can get the supports that they need. There's also a lot to do there. There's a pool table, a ping pong table, an art room, there's a music room, there's all sorts of programs and activities that are going on for youth. And the feedback we get is that they really like being there, so that's important. And those sites are, we have one in Fergus, Palmerston, Erin. We've got a University of Guelph site. It's a pretty small site, but it gets used quite a bit. And then that Woolwich Street in Guelph. We're hoping to have one at the Y in Guelph. We have a satellite one at Shelldale. And then sometimes we have pop-up ones. So in the summertime, sometimes there'll be one in Rockwood, or there'll be ones at other sites that are just kind of pop-up sites. And I love working with the Grove staff because it's mostly youth-led, so we kind of get that different lens of what's going on and what's happening with our youth. Okay, so that's all done. I've talked about CMHA and I've talked about the Grove. Now I really want to start talking about what is mental health, why are we talking about self-compassion and what that means. So I've got a question for you to see if you're paying attention. What comes to mind when we say mental health? What are some things that come to your mind when I say what is mental health? Does anyone have any ideas? Depression. Yep. Anyone have any other thoughts? Anxiety. Yep. Resources. Loneliness. Yeah. Grief. Yeah. And often that is what we think of, right? We think of all those kind of big, heavy things when we think about mental health, which that is part of our mental health. Mental health is also joy, being motivated, connecting with others, feeling like you've succeeded at something, maybe just being really hopeful and happy. That's also our mental health. So when we think about mental health, oftentimes when I say I work in the mental health field, people will be like, "Ooh, that sounds like that's really heavy." It can be, but it can also be all those other things. So when we think about our mental health, we all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. We just sometimes have not so good days, and sometimes we have really joyful, amazing days. So when we think of our mental health in a definition, it's how a person thinks, feels, acts in life, really. So depending on what our mental health state is at that time, that can really affect how we handle stress, how we handle change, how we handle challenge. So I always give the example when I'm in classrooms, if you wake up in the morning and maybe you've had a fight with your family member the night before, you're still feeling really frustrated about that, you're maybe angry still, and then you get up and you think, oh my gosh, I'm running late for my PROBUS meeting, I'm really stressed, this is gonna be really bad. Then you go downstairs and you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to pick up coffee, I don't have enough coffee, I'm really grumpy, this is really frustrating. Why didn't my partner unload the dishwasher? Now the dishwasher needs to be unloaded, and you're feeling grumpy. If you get out to your car and you have a flat tire, you might think, that's it, I'm not going, this is brutal, this is the worst day ever. If, on the other hand, you woke up in the morning, maybe you'd had a really fun night like me last night, you went to Dairy Queen with your family, that was really awesome. You wake up, maybe someone has made you breakfast, you can smell that coffee brewing and you're feeling really good, you're on time, you go out to your car and you have that flat tire, you might handle it a lot differently. It might be frustrating, but you wouldn't feel overwhelmed. So think about that in your own life. At times when you feel like there's a lot going on and then you have one more thing added to your plate, give yourself a little grace. because sometimes we go through tough stuff. Tough stuff happens. We're humans. I always say that to our youth. Sad things happen and we will be sad. Or really frustrating things happen, we're going to be frustrated. That's normal. That's being a human being. It's how do we boost ourselves back up again? When I look at this scale up here, it's a sliding scale. So if I do have something really sad and devastating happen in my life, I'm not going to be way up on the wellness part. I'm going to be down in the distress part. I'm going to be feeling pretty bad. But how do I boost myself back up? And that's the tricky part sometimes. Our goal is, if we're feeling in that distress zone, what can we do? What tools can we have? What supports can we have that we can bring ourselves back up? Because it's normal to move up and down in that scale all the time, and we know that. So there's some times that we feel like we're feeling really rotten, and then we connect with someone, and then they make us laugh and we feel okay. Or maybe we go and join our hiking group, and we go out and we feel good. We're outside and we're doing our things that we want to do. Sometimes people meditate. Sometimes people feel like they need that quiet, that grounding. So what are we doing to kind of boost ourselves back up in that wellness? I also want to say it would be really weird if we were always at the top of that scale. Because if something really awful happened to me and I was still really joyful and motivated, people would be like, what is wrong with Laura? That is not how you should be reacting. So remember that sometimes we do have those ups and downs. I'm just going to quick show this wheel. I know the font is pretty small on a lot of these points, but this is just to kind of keep in mind some of the signs and symptoms that maybe we're struggling. Maybe we're having a rough time of it, and this wheel has a lot of different components to it. So if we start on that behavioral side, you can see that those are the things that we often notice with our mental health, or we notice in our friends or family. So that could be that someone is now not showing up. They're isolated, they're feeling lonely, they're feeling withdrawn. Sometimes they're lashing out, they're being really aggressive. They could be taking risks when they wouldn't normally have taken those risks. Emotionally, we see it too, where maybe someone's really moody, maybe someone's really irritable. We might see that depression or anxiety piece, and we might see total numbness, where we sometimes call that the flat affect, where you're not feeling anything at all. You're just kind of going through life, no ups, no downs. The perceptual piece of signs and symptoms, I always say, is kind of like those are the ones that you see in the movies or you read about in books, or those more extreme things, but they do happen for us. We might have hallucinations, we might have delusions, we might lose track of time and place. We're not sure what's happening. That's the perceptual part. And then cognitive is sometimes we have troubles making decisions. Sometimes we lose focus. Sometimes our memory is affected. This has happened to me when I'm really stressed. That's a symptom of my stress, where I forget things. Or I have done a public speaking session where I have my cue cards in front of me and I forget where I am. And then I can't even really read my writing, or I don't know which cue card I have. That's the stress piece, and cognitively, that's one of my symptoms. Physically, we can have those changes in appearance, so maybe we're not taking care of ourselves, maybe we're not eating, maybe we're eating too much, maybe we're not sleeping, maybe we're sleeping a whole lot. So those are all kind of those signs and symptoms that you might recognize in yourself, and we all may handle them differently. Sometimes when I show this slide, people will say, oh my goodness, this is totally me. I have all of these and I must be really stressed, or I must be struggling. It's normal to have those things, so don't forget that piece. We sometimes have those happen. You could ask yourself, though, are they out of character? Because for me, I'm a pretty outgoing person. I like to laugh a lot. I like to hang out with my family. I like to hang out with my friends. If I'm really isolated and quiet, people wonder what's going on. My husband is a little quieter, so if he was quiet, I'd be like, well, that's Jay, that's who he is. If he's suddenly lashing out or being aggressive or angry, I'd be like, whoa, what's going on? So it's that change in character that you're looking for. Is it more intense? Is it lasting longer? Are you having a lot of days where you're feeling like that? And is it occurring more often? So now, instead of it being a Monday morning and I'm feeling the blues, is it happening Tuesday morning, and it's happening Wednesday morning, and it's happening Thursday morning? That's a sign that maybe something's going on. So when you ask yourself those questions of, am I struggling? Is it more intense? Is it more frequent? Is it lasting longer? Sometimes we need help with that. And I'll talk about some of the resources that we have where we might need help. We also can do some self-reflection, and we can kind of figure out what we need to do kind of on our own roadmap to wellness. One of the things that we can do, and I circled it there, is the self-compassion piece. And that one is really easy to do for ourselves. We don't need other people to help us with that. We can kind of figure out that self-compassion for ourselves. And when we look at self-compassion, it's the practice of giving ourselves that kindness, maybe giving ourselves understanding and support during times when we're not doing so well. So maybe we were late for something and we're feeling really bad about it. Or maybe we're really struggling with a relationship and we're feeling pretty awful about it. How do we grant ourselves that same sort of understanding and kindness that we would to somebody else? And sometimes that can be tough. So we're going to talk a little bit about concepts like shared humanity, being mindful of our experiences, and responding to our own pain with care. So those are kind of the components of self-compassion that I want to talk about today. Because I want you to reflect on it. We're taught to be kind to others. We value being kind to others. We think of all the nice things we can do for other people. But think about the last time that you said something kind or did something kind just for yourself. And then think about, was it today? Was it yesterday? Was it last week? Or maybe you can't even remember. Maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, I think of everyone else. So really when we think about that, we really want to think about how we can be kind to ourselves. And there are there's a lot of research now going on about the power of kindness to ourselves and others, and also that self-compassion piece. Because the data is showing us that if we have a positive outlook for ourselves and are kind to ourselves, it actually can reduce anxiety and depression. And one of the articles that I was reading, it was research that was done on cancer patients, and those cancer patients, if they practice self-compassion, actually reported more wellness and well-being than those that didn't. So when we're thinking about people that are self-compassionate, have that positive outlook for themselves, there can be physical and mental benefits of that positive self-esteem and positive attitude. The other research that has been done on that is if we go into something like, say we're in a job interview and we have that compassion and that positive self-esteem of going into that job interview, we are more likely to excel at that job interview than if we go in with no opinion at all or that negative outlook. So when we think of that for self-compassion and how that can affect our mood, how it can affect our health, it's really important to start practicing it. It can enhance our emotional strength. So if we feel good about ourselves, emotions and feelings and what we're feeling, our mood actually improve. Also, there's a kindness institute in California, and all they do is study the power of kindness. And there's a big link between being kind to yourself and how other people view you. So their reports are, we have healthier relationships, we have more positive relationships, people are attracted to us if we have a positive outlook on ourselves. So that's really important to think about too, that practice of self-compassion actually attracts people to us because we have that positive outlook for ourselves. We can improve our physical health, foster better relationships. We automatically want to grow and learn when we're feeling good about ourselves because we're wanting to reach out and do those things. So that's another thing for self-compassion. The reduces perfectionism is kind of an interesting one, and I talk about that with protective factors when I'm talking to youth. Protective factors are those things that support us to boost our mood, to help us handle stress, and to help us become more resilient. So the protective factor on that one is sometimes we mess up. We're good at some things, we're not so good at others. I'm a horrible basketball player. I'm never gonna be a good basketball player. I'm almost 50, I'm pretty sure my basketball career is over. That's okay, I don't need to be a good basketball player. I'm a really good cinnamon bun maker. So that's a real good strength for me. I can recognize that that's okay. If I ever get asked to be in a basketball league, I can join it and warn them, or I can just say no thanks, right? That's okay to have that where we don't have to be good at everything, and we can be kind to ourselves. Also, we know that self-compassion can improve our mental clarity, and we can live in that present moment, that mindfulness moment. We're going to talk about mindfulness in a minute. It promotes a positive self-image because we're okay with who we are, and that's amazing. And it just generally overall enhances our well-being. So that's our self-compassion piece. There's Dr. Kristen Neff, who's kind of a guru of self-compassion. I have one of her books up here today. All of her research really is showing that the power of self-compassion covers both our physical and our mental health, and we really need to kind of focus on that piece. Sometimes we don't practice self-compassion because we think people are going to think that we're selfish, or people are going to think that we're pitying ourselves, or sometimes people think we're a narcissist, that we think we're so good that we're patting ourselves on the back all the time. Sometimes we feel like it's a waste of our time, or that we're self-indulgent. So those are all reasons that we don't practice self-compassion. We need to kind of switch that dialogue around where actually it's really good for us. And it gives us the benefit of connecting well with others, of having that positive self-esteem and improving our well-being, whether it is our mental well-being or our physical well-being. And I'm going to give you a new Scrabble word of the day, neuroplasticity. If you can get that on your Scrabble board, you get an extra 50 points, I would say. Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability, this is sort of the science of self-compassion, it's our brain's ability to create new connections. So over our lifetime, our brain can actually make new neural connections as we experience new things, as our life goes on, and sometimes some things we don't need anymore, and it makes new pathways. The science behind this is that self-compassion can significantly impact our ability to make those connections, and the connections that we make can lead to more resiliency and help us be less reactive to stress. So if we're practicing our self-compassion, we're actually firing all these other pathways that can actually lead to more resiliency and lower our stress level. So when we think of that, self-compassion is so important all throughout our lifetime to be able to create those pathways where we can bounce back, we can handle stress, we can react to stress in a different way. So that's pretty incredible. If that doesn't make you be self-compassionate, I'm not sure what would. When we think of self-compassion, there are some ways that we can do that, and it's pretty simple. When we think about it, we can work this into our daily life. One of them is starting with an intention, and a lot of people don't do that in the beginning of their day, but if you can actually, in your day, start with an intention. So maybe you say, today I'm going to get 8,000 steps in, or today I am going to try a new recipe for supper tonight. Or today, I am going to get stronger physically. So today, and how am I going to do that? I'm going to put my weights out the night before on the table where I drink my coffee so that I actually force myself to use those weights in the morning. That's an intention, and if we can have that positive intention, it actually sets us up for success later on in the day. Some people journal. Sometimes that's a great way to either express your gratitude, or maybe set your intention for the day, or maybe just kind of think about what you've done well today, what you're thankful for today. Some people do those positive affirmations, and that one actually is kind of linked to that challenge negative thinking, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. The other piece is celebrating progress. There's been a lot of research on that too, where if we can celebrate even just a little joy that has happened, it actually trains our brain to think positively. So whether it's you go home and your dog greets you at the door and you're really excited because your dog is greeting you, that's joyful. That's celebrating something. Maybe it's that, oh my gosh, I made it to my appointment on time. I'm never on time. I'm so good at this. So that could be celebrating something. It doesn't have to be the big stuff. It can be just those little joys that something good has happened. Maybe you're on Duolingo and you make it to the next level and you're like, I'm going to be a Spanish expert. This is amazing. Also, I want to talk about seeking support. That is an act of self-compassion. If you feel like you need help with anything, It's okay to ask for that support. So it could be something like, this year I don't want to do my own gardening, I'm going to hire the neighborhood kid to do my gardening. It could be, I feel like I'm struggling and I need to reach out to someone. I'm going to connect with my doctor, or I'm going to connect with a therapist, or I'm just going to connect it with one of my kids to let them know that that's happening. That's actually a sign of self-compassion. That's a way to do that, to recognize that maybe you need help. The challenge negative thinking one kind of goes with that affirmation piece, in that as human beings, we're actually wired to have a negative bias. So we often think the worst is going to happen. It's actually a survival skill, because way back, we used to have to think of the worst all the time in order to keep going. If there was a huge storm that whipped through and I'm living on the land, I need to think, wow, this could wipe out my whole life. I got to figure out what's going to happen. Or if something terrible happens, I'm thinking the worst outcome. I'm always thinking of that worst outcome. Nowadays, we can Google things, we can turn up the heat in our house if we need to. We don't need that negative bias the same way that we used to for survival. We're still preconditioned for it. That's just being a human being. Some people, their negative bias is stronger than others. And we see that sometimes, right? We see people that just naturally have more of a positive outlook. We can train ourselves to change that around. And one of the things that we can do to do that is that affirmation piece. And when I go into grade 7 classrooms and I say, I want you to look in the mirror every morning and say, you're awesome, or you are so beautiful, they look at me like they're not into it. So I did read a book recently, and you may have heard of Mel Robbins. She's a podcaster and author, kind of a self-help guru. She's in social media a lot right now. She's written quite a few books that I find are just really readable. You can take them with a grain of salt, but I thought she had a couple of concepts that I really liked, and one of them was the high five factor. So instead of looking in a mirror and saying, oh, Laura, you look beautiful today, or you're going to succeed today, you just give yourself a high five in the mirror. That high five factor sets you up for positivity that day. So I challenge you, if you go to the bathroom when I'm done talking, if you go look in your rearview mirror in your car, I want you to give yourself a high five factor. And if you want to add a positive affirmation, that's also amazing. But if you practice it every day, you'll actually have more of a positive outlook, and you train your brain to be more positive. So I really wish I had little cameras in all your bathrooms in the next little bit to see if I could just see that high five factor. But I do challenge you to do it, because sometimes we just need a little reminder that this is going to be okay today. That high five is going to set us off on a good start for the day. The other piece is, it does get easier the more we practice it. We start to change that negative bias where we just start thinking more positively. The other really good news for all you folks out there is science is showing us the older we get, the less negative we get for our negative bias. So we start thinking more positively. So I always say, like, two of my favorite things, wine, cheese, we get better with age, right? Where we start thinking of that, thinking of that positivity more. So that's wonderful when we think about that. But sometimes we need a reminder, so don't forget that high five factor. Don't do it too hard, because then it's 7 years of bad luck, and then it's kind of the opposite. Something else that you could try is thinking about reframing how you think of things. So, for example, I have to go to that appointment tomorrow. Ugh. Instead, maybe you say, I get to go to that appointment tomorrow. Thank goodness I got in finally. It could be, I have to attend another work training, or I get to learn something new. So if we reframe how we're thinking about things, or sometimes you might think, oh, I have to go to another family function? How many birthday parties are there in April? This is brutal. Or you get to say, I get to be with my family, right? That could be a new way to reframe it. It could be, oh, I have to go grocery shopping. Instead, you might say, I get to buy food to nourish myself. So it's that reframing that sometimes we just have to do for that positive outlook. That sometimes is hard to do, but if we can just reframe it to say, yay, that's great. Now, when I go for my mammogram in May, I'm not sure I'm gonna be like, yay, I get to go for my mammogram. I'm 50, this is amazing. I'll let you know though, I'll tell my mom and dad, they can report back. So I'm going to just challenge you to think about that perspective. Is there another way to look at it? Is there a way that we can rephrase or rethink what's happening, that we can kind of put that skew to be more self-compassionate and positive? So here's an example, and this is actually to do with Kristen Neff, who is the doctor that does a lot of research on self-compassion. She actually has 3 different ways of looking at ourselves in a self-compassionate response. And one of them is self-kindness, the other one is looking at us as common humanity, and the other one is practicing mindfulness. So this scenario is, you set a goal to exercise regularly, but you really haven't been able to stick to it. I think it happens to all of us. So a typical response would be, I'm so lazy, I can't even stick to a simple exercise routine. What's wrong with me? I'm so lazy. If I was practicing a self-kindness response, I might say, ugh, it's okay to struggle with new habits. Building a routine takes time. I can be kind to myself. Common humanity would be looking at this sort of as a whole, where you might say, many people find it hard to stick to their exercise goals. It's a common challenge. You're not the only one. And then the last way to look at it with mindfulness is, I'm aware I'm feeling frustrated with myself. I can try again tomorrow, and I can take it one step at a time. So those are kind of different ways that we can reframe it. When you read about self-compassion, it often talks about those 3 things: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. It's just another perspective. It's another way to kind of think about that challenge and try not to be so hard on yourself when it happens. It's happened to me before where I might go to a social gathering. I don't know everyone there, and I'm thinking, I should know that person. Why do I not recognize their face? Did I see them at a grocery store? Have I met them at another party? And then you kick yourself when you go home because you think, I totally should have said hello to that person, and I should have called them by name, and why didn't I remember it? And you kind of have this negative self-talk about how you kind of screwed up, how you messed up at that social gathering. Instead of thinking that about yourself, you could practice those other ways to respond, kind of like, well, that happens to a lot of people. It's not just me. It could be that maybe I didn't really know that person. Or maybe it'll be, I'm gonna ask my friend what that person's name is, and I'm gonna do better next time. So that's kind of the way to look at it, as opposed to being really hard on ourselves and beating ourselves up. Because sometimes we do that. Sometimes we're pretty hard on ourselves. I want you to remember that you can practice forgiveness. When you mess up, we all mess up. Mistakes happen. Don't punish yourself for it. Learn from it and keep moving forward. There's been a lot of talk recently about that growth mindset. So that's something where if we make a mistake, we learn, we try not to make that mistake again, and we get better at it. It also means that we can kind of reflect on it, like, what did I learn from it, and how can I move forward? And we also want to kind of celebrate what we did well, as opposed to all the things that we did wrong. That growth mindset is this my best work? Can I get feedback from people? What can I learn? The fixed mindset is, I'm not even going to try it, because if I mess up, I'm going to feel bad. I'll never be that smart. I already know what's best, or I give up. So we really want to be in that growth mindset piece. I put this up on a lot of slides for youth too. Mistakes open your mind, so make one today. It's like, hooray, I'm a mistake maker. It's okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to make the same mistake over and over and over again because we haven't learned anything, but make a mistake, figure out what happened, and then move on. That's okay, right? That's how we learn. We also want to express gratitude. So rather than wishing for what we don't have, there's strength in appreciating what we do have. Do I right now really wish, I woke up this morning and I said to Jay, why am I so excited about that one night we had in Niagara Falls like three weeks ago? That was our holiday. I really wish we had been able to go somewhere in March. I wanted to be in Barbados on a beach. Instead of being thankful for what I'd had, I was already thinking about what I'd missed out on. Really, I had a great time in Niagara Falls. We went to Yuck Yucks, it was amazing. We went out for dinner, it was really fun. But I'm like, ugh, why was that? That was that one night when I really wish that I had had that beach scene. I should be thankful for what I do have. And we can practice gratitude journaling. We can savor those simple things that we have. And we can do acts of kindness for others. That's an amazing way to show your gratitude. If you want to do a nice deed for someone, if you want to give someone a gift, if you just want to call them and connect with them, that's an amazing way to practice that kindness and gratitude. I also just want to reflect on sometimes we have to balance our own generosity for our own self-compassion. So sometimes we say yes all the time. We keep saying, yeah, I'm going to give more. I'll volunteer again, or I will donate to that cause, or I will attend that event. We sometimes have to be aware of our own boundaries and our own limitations. When we were with some friends at Christmas time, we were talking about our New Year's resolutions. I went first and I said I wanted to play more pranks on people. And then I felt kind of bad afterwards because everyone was very deep and thoughtful in their, in their resolutions. My pranking hasn't gone quite as planned yet, but I'm still working on it. So watch out when you eat those mints at the back. It's hard to say if any of them will taste bad, I'm not sure. But when we were talking to my friends, one of our friends said he gives a lot of his time and he's involved in a lot of community things. And one of the things he wanted to do was say no more, to be intentional on what he was attending and what he was doing, because he was feeling like he was giving too much. His self-compassion was lower. He was giving too much of himself. So remember that. Balance your generosity. That's okay to have those limitations. The other piece is practicing mindfulness, and some of you may know what that means, where we're living in the present moment right now, no matter what we're doing. So it could be deep breathing, where we're only focused on what's happening now, not what's to come, not what's behind us, but what's happening right now, and it's hard. It's hard to do that mindfulness. So deep breathing is one where we can kind of focus on that. Some people practice mindfulness when they're cleaning. All they're doing is figuring out that the counter needs to be cleaned. Maybe they move on to a closet. They're just thinking in that present moment. Some people are really mindful when they're connecting with others. And oftentimes, especially in this day and age, it's turning the TV off, turning your phones off, getting rid of all distractions except for what's in front of you. And that's hard sometimes with mindfulness because we have a lot of distractions around us. This is a kind of fun slide, like, is your mind full or are you mindful? And that happens all the time, where we think we're going to send that email and then all those other things happen to us. So really think about, for your own self-compassion, are you able to just be mindful in that moment and let everything else go? Because that can be hard sometimes. So things you can do are mindful breathing, body scan meditations, where you think of your body and all how you're feeling in your body. You could start at your toes, work all the way up to your head. Mindfulness in those daily tasks like cleaning, going for a walk, whatever that is. Connection to nature is a wonderful way to be mindful. When you get outside on your walks or your hikes, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What do you hear? What are you experiencing right in that moment? And that can be really hard sometimes. And gratitude is another way to express mindfulness. So if we can be really thankful in the moment, that's a really good way to express mindfulness. I think, Tom, you were giving me what time is it, Tom? 11:13. Okay, I have time. I have time for this mindfulness, but we have to focus on this mindfulness activity. I'm going to do a breathing activity with you that I think is kind of a neat one to do. You can do it if you have grandkids. This is a great one to do with grandkids too. I used to do it with my kids before they would go to sleep at night if they kind of needed to just ground themselves. I also, when I worked in Ottawa, I had a client that didn't like public transit, had a hard time getting to work because she was very anxious to be on the bus, and we did 5-finger breathing where she could just sit on the bus and focus on her breathing. So it's 5-finger breathing in a crowd, it's really hard because you're kind of focused on someone beside you, but I want you to really just focus on the moment. Focus on your own breath and focus on what you are experiencing in the moment. So I'm going to stick my hand up in the air and we're going to trace around our hand as we breathe. You can do that in your lap if you want to. Sometimes people like to feel that tracing around their hand, but we're going to all be breathing together. And we're going to be pausing at the top of our finger and thumb and at the bottom. I'm going to turn this off for now. We're going to go for it. We're going to try it. So I have my hand up. We're going to start down here at my thumb. Everyone breathe out to start with. So we're going to breathe out. I want you to breathe in. 2, 3, 4, pause. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. 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 Pause. Breathe out. That was awesome. It's so good. I must say, you were all better than the grade 8 class I had this week, so that was really good. That's really good. Kind of to sum up today, I want you to kind of reflect really on yourself and how you treat yourself. Imagine that a close friend is struggling with that same issue that you're facing, and then offer yourself the same kindness and understanding you would give them. So acknowledge that you deserve compassion and support. Treat with the same empathy and encouragement, recognizing that everyone, including you, deserves that care and forgiveness. And that's hard sometimes, but I really want you to reflect on that, of how you offer yourself that same compassion as you give others. Brené Brown is another author on self-compassion who's pretty incredible, and I have this quote actually on my desk at work, and I read it every day. Talk to yourself like you would to someone you love. So that's really important. Just to sum up, because I'm Canadian Mental Health, I'd like to talk about supports in our community. I've divided it into 3 different categories, so things that we can do ourselves. These are all those things that maybe we can work on for our own self-compassion, things that we can do ourselves. The more formal supports are those things that maybe you would go to the doctors or therapy or things like that for, call a helpline. And then the less formal externals, those could be planning a vacation, connecting with friends, hanging out with a pet, doing something that you really enjoy and have that sense of purpose for. And remember that sometimes we have no idea what we're doing or we don't know what to do. That's okay. Connect with someone that does. And if you have someone in your life you can connect with to get that support, amazing. If you feel like you need to connect with a health professional, that's awesome too. And then also if you're thinking, I'm just not sure who to connect with, you can call here 24/7 or another helpline to get that help that you need. There's the 988. We have some cards at the back. And I also have here 24/7 cards at the back if you'd like to take those. I also have a resource sheet that we print out that just has a lot of different community resources. If you want to take one of those, you're welcome to it as well. And these are just some books that I have been reading. I don't know if you'll be interested. Some of them are pretty dry. If you're having trouble sleeping, sometimes that works. But there's one on self-compassion. Brené Brown is in the middle, and then the Let Them theory is the Mel Robbins one right now that I'm just really enjoying. It's a pretty easy read, and it's giving me some strategies. There's also lots of apps out there too that can help if you're an app person. I find sometimes I'm not, because I like to disconnect from my phone. So sometimes those apps actually, I'm like, why am I on my phone again? But those are some examples of things that you can do. I think that's it for me. The only other pieces that I have is I brought some mints that are in a bowl at the back. When you leave, instead of just chomping on that mint and going on in your day, savor that mint. Think about, what does this mint taste like? Is it super spicy? Is it one of those mints that tastes like, I don't know what it is, something really bad because Laura just played a prank on me. I'm just kidding, they're all the same, they're all mints. But think about that mindfulness piece. What am I tasting? Is it actually cutting my tongue? Is it making my nose run? Am I savoring this mint? What's the shape of it? Is it smooth? That's the mindfulness piece, and we can practice that anywhere in our life. But with your mint, sometimes we just put a mint in our mouth and we chomp away at it and we move on to our next thing. Be mindful, see what happens with it. Those are at the back. Okay, Dad, I'm done. Yeah. I can see him standing.
Does anyone have any questions for our speaker? And David Churchill has microphones. If you just raise your hand in the air, he'll get a microphone to you.
I just want to put in a shameless plug for PROBUS. It's one source of connection for mental health.
Totally amazing. And I do think that power of connection is incredible, and it's awesome to see it.
Hi, Laura. It made me think of an incident in our yard once when our children were young. They were probably 5 or 6 years old. And I was kind of half listening to them playing, and I heard the boy next door say, "Oh, no negative thoughts. We only have positive thoughts." And I thought that was quite cute. His parents had been teaching him that. And that really is important.
To think the positive.
To be positive, and
Yeah.
that your cup is half full, not half empty.
Yeah, and sometimes that's hard, right? To
Yeah.
think, to have that change in perspective. Yeah, for sure.
I want to say thank you very much. That was awesome.
Oh, good.
And
I was sweating when I heard your background. I was like, uh-oh, yeah.
I just want to put a plug in for the Youth Hub because when I was counseling children with fetal alcohol syndrome and learning disabilities, there was no place for youth to go. It was horrible. I was their only resource, and the parents would be so frustrated. And I taught them brain gym, which saved my life in terms of learning. And my granddaughter experienced the death of 3 grandparents in a year. And it broke her heart, and she got really depressed because she was very close to my husband and her other grandmother. That hub has saved her. Oh my gosh, she went from this sullen, crying child to this bubbly facilitator at the hub. And
awesome.
She helps other kids with grief counseling. And so thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
I also want to just say, I forgot to say that I have suffered from depression since 15 years old. And I've heard a lot of seniors say, "Oh, I don't take any pills." Well, my answer is, I take pills and I'm here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's great, right? That's awesome. Yeah.
Are there any questions from home?
There are no questions in the chat room at this moment, but at home it just ended.
Okay.
I think that's...
Thank you. Oh, one more. Yeah.
Are your slides available?
We don't usually share them, but if there's something that you would like more information for, if you want to connect with me, my email is there. So if you want to just send me a message, I can see what I can do. How's that sound? Yeah, we don't typically share them with everyone in the public, but definitely I can get you some information if you would like it. Yeah.
Tom Watson is going to thank our speaker. Thank you.
Did we have one more or no? Is that a question or no? No? Okay.
Laura, if you see a special glow about me today, there are 2 reasons. One is that I did my income tax yesterday. The other is seeing you.
Thank you, Tom.
The first time I ever met you was at your mom and dad's home. You were 16 then. Who would have thunk that 9 years later I would be privileged to officiate at your wedding, and you're married this year 25 years.
It's a good thing.
Your mom and dad are so proud of you. And what you have said today is so important, because if I come here today and I've got a mental health problem, you can't see it. If I've got a broken leg, you can see why I'm limping or using crutches or whatever. But what you have said is so significant and so helpful, and we really thank you for all that you do in our community.
Thank you, Tom.
This is a token of PROBUS appreciation.
Thank you.
Laura goes from here to John McRae School to talk to students there. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, our next meeting will be on May the 8th. Our guest speaker is Kathy Summers, the University of Guelph Stress and Performance Center, speaking on sleep. And here is my departing thought. In a society that has you counting money, kilos, calories, and steps, be a rebel and count your blessings instead. This concludes our April meeting. Enjoy the thought of spring weather coming soon. See you next month. Hello. Hello, everyone. Listen, there's been a credit card lost. Is that it? Okay, we've got it. Thank you very much.
So she has had, that's her last name. It is Shadow.